Sunday, I might do a Chinese weather balloon op in the morning. Still haven't finalized it yet. I'll have to tonight after the DayZ stream if I'm feeling up to it. And then we'll play with RT Columbia. And then the evenings, I'm debating whether or not we'll do more DayZ or Subnautica. We probably will. I might sneak in both. And then I'm just going to double down on video editing. I'm actually happy with myself. I've been getting back into the groove of it. It's just, you know, forcing myself to sit down and get it done. But I still have a lot to go. I've got a massive backlog that I've created. But when it's finished, I'll have a lot to upload. And then I also made a massive spiel last night because I've got to work on some indoor gardening stuff. But we'll get on that later. If you have access to my Discord, just go in the garden channel. You'll see what I'm talking about. But regardless, round 1 has started. We're at the Op4 side to begin with. Briefing for this mission. All HE rounds have been removed from the vehicles, so basically no HE for any autocannon, so they only have the AP round. So it's basically anti-vehicle support or just a massive sniper rifle. Otherwise, game mode is destroy. Basically, Blue 4 knows the location approximately of where 3 ammo caches are. Op4, the defenders, know where the exact location is via these markers. We see them in the spectator mode. But Blue 4 has to find and destroy all 3 objectives within the 50-minute round. Excuse me, there's a 15-minute safe start on top of it. But with that, or, you know, one side will just wipe the entirety of the other side. So we'll see how that goes. Otherwise, looking at the rest of the variables here, 1,500 meters of render distance. That's because there's an aircraft in play. No magnified optics nor NVG equipment. Defender build points are 180, which is... the default number is 125, so they've got like another 50 or 60 more. I don't know the exact number. I think 55. 60? I don't know. Yeah, it's 60. Gosh, I can't English. I can't math. Whatever. Blue 4 is medium anti-tank, and Echo is going to be a Moz. Op 4 is going to be an Igla. I already saw the Igla down there, so I know Op 4 has theirs. But otherwise, let's go ahead and look at Op 4 side. Op 4 going to be Russian modern EMR kits. Loadout's going to be AK-74s modernized, either with the UK or the Zentico optics, meaning they can take Eastern or Western optics of their choice. MP443 Garage is going to be the secondary. I'm not going to mention the AKS because no one ever takes the AKS. In the choice between that and AK-74. Support weapons, you got the LMG gunners and Alpha Bravo Charlie taking the RP key. Delta machine gunners get the PKP. Light anti-tanks going to be the RPG-7. Crew and aviation get a choice of the PP-2000 submachine gun or an AKS. Nothing on crew served weapons. Assets for these guys going to be a BTR-80 Alpha, 2,000 rounds of 7.62x5.4, 6 smoke rounds and 90 AP rounds. All right. BRDM with KPTV, BDR transport with the PKT turret that you got to turn out to use, which is honestly a death trap, and 2 static dishkas with 250 rounds total, 50 rounds across 5 magazines, which are also known as boxes. Otherwise, looking over at Op4's roster, we got Curie commanding, Kabuki Face leading Alpha, Delta, Steve as the marksman for Alpha. I saw the D right there. My brain went to Delta. We got Pierce taking the light machine gun and Alpha. Fonz taking the AT. And that appears to be it for Alpha. Wow, that's a small team. Depso leading Bravo. He's got Tymek, Seska Keeper, Polish Pepe, Stromimek. I'm not even going to try. Yuru, Dewadox, and Leziak under him. Charlie being led by Nemesis for Scandi Recon with Azariah as the 2IC with a grenade launcher. Whiplash taking the marksman rifle. Again, SVD for Op4. Charlie 1 being led by Nimia with Puma, Albert Q, Johnny, and Hurton under him. Cullis leading. There is no leadership for Charlie 2, so it just defaults to Cullis as the machine gunner with Flying Fin with AT, Nafs with Grenadier weapon, and Dobbs as Demolition Specialist. Chai leading Delta with Patriot, Ghoster, Olaf, and Mutant under him. And then Echo, the AT team, which in this case an AA team, is going to be Lolo leading with Slushy as the AA gunner, and Reapers and Seismo as assistants. So they have 3 AA missiles total, so that helicopter should be toast, theoretically. And then you got a vehicle crew with Mackenzie and Sam in the BTR-80 Alpha because they're in the dedicated Gamma roles, and Audi is in Bravo 1, probably going to merge with the rest of Bravo in a second. Kenzie we saw do really well in OFCRA yesterday. We'll see if Mackenzie can keep it up. Otherwise, looking over to Blue 4, who have started in Chernaris here, or Chernogorsk, whatever. They have the Modern American Navy AOR camouflage kits breaking down the roster. You got your platoon lead, platoon sergeant, squad leader, team leader, auto rifleman assistant, grenadier, grenadier IR. Grenadier IRs have hunt IR grenades, 40mm camera grenades you fire in the air. Makes a camera with a parachute on it. Gives you a nice bird's eye view of the AO. Machine gunner assistant, combat engineer. They have the choice of 4 different types of ordnance. You have 2 explosive satchels or 4 explosive charges. Either of those you can throw, or 4 tripwire mines, 2 being HE, 2 being flare. Very deadly when you're not dealing with body armor. Or 3 AT mines. So those are the 4 choices overall. Light anti-tank, medium anti-tank, 1 assistant, 2 assistant don't matter anymore. RA, RAS, and SMP don't matter anymore. They're part of a group called X-Ray that's been defunct for over a year, but they're still in the roster for some reason. DMRs appear to be... I'm going to take a guess and say that's a Mark 11, but we'll see in a second. Crew lead, crewmen, pilots, medics, and the base kit. Otherwise, looking over at the actual stats for Blue 4, we've got their loadout's going to be Mod 1 Mark 18s, either with the base or a SOP mod stock. Glock 17s for the secondary. Light machine gunners through Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie are going to have the M249. Medium machine gunners in Delta are going to have the M240 Gulf. Light anti-tanks going to be single-shot disposable M136, also known as an AT4. And crew and aviation are going to have the choice between the MP7 submachine gun or the Mark 18. Mod 1, basically a carbine version with a shorter barrel. Assets for these guys are going to be the LAV-25. That's going to have 70 rounds and 1,200 rounds of the M240 for its coax, and 4 smokescreen rounds total. They got the Griffin with the dynamic loadout. It's got a laser designator. It's got miniguns, which aren't really going to be that effective. And then the pilot also has a 6.5 minigun. So let me take a look at that real quick. I want to see what's chambered in what. It's on the rooftop over here. So the pilot has 6.5 miniguns firing forward, only a single pylon of it, and then 2 side-mounted 7.62 by 51 NATO miniguns. So basically it's just a gunboat, which is going to get utterly smacked by the Igla unless it stays within super close range, but at that point the 80 Alpha is going to destroy it. So I'm going to be honest, unless they have a co-pilot for that thing's going to be nigh useless in this scenario because the Eagle is going to easily counter it. Thankfully, they do have a co-pilot with it, though. It's going to be Oddball and Schult flying it, which means they can just stay at the 1,500 meter range on the very tip of the rendered zone and just recon with the laser designator camera, which honestly is going to make this even more useful. But for as an actual gunboat, unless they can clarify that they've taken out the AA crew, and even the BTR-80 Alpha, because they got to fly slow to actually be effective with it, but I get why they have it. It's interesting, it's fun, it's cool, but from a practical standpoint, that thing's going to be nigh useless, and if it isn't, that just means Op 4's dropping the freaking ball. Otherwise, other assets they're going to be working with here. You've got 2 transport Humvees, 4 Gaz Tigers, 2 M2 Humvees with the up-armored variants. They've got 800 rounds total, and then 2 transport trucks. Looking at the roster here, we've got Eric commanding. Haven't seen a lot of commanding from Eric. We'll see how he does. NASA leading Alpha, Kerrigan White as the 2IC, Ivno as the marksman. And that is a Mark 11. All right, so 7.62 by 51 NATO, 20 rounds. Not a battle rifle, more of a marksman rifle. Kermit being the medic for the group. Ash leading Alpha 1 with Bob Winchester, Tackleberry, Swola, Bluck, and Kazag under him. Norris leading Alpha 2 with Banks, Iqbal, Arcor, Harrington, and Wheaton under him. Rufy leading Bravo with Yano, Brecken, Cooper, Misfit, and Pijedu under him. No additional forces under Bravo. All right, so Charlie being led by Pro Hunter with Rodriguez, the marksman. Thompson being the medic. Charlie 1 being led by Aim at the Balls with Skeeta, Crazy, Frank 1, Mektum, and Autovisky. Guy Fury leading Delta. Keenan Artisan taking the machine gunner roles with Korvac as an assistant, Arma Jesus as a team lead, and no Delta 2. Interesting. So Gamma 1's got 4 members, Lusod, Cameron, Gogu, and Nerdin. What that might mean is we're having a dedicated vehicle crew for one of the M2 Humvees and a dedicated 2-man crew for the LAV, because I don't see why they would put 4 people into that vehicle. And then, as I mentioned earlier, Oddball and Schultz taking the gunship. Objectives overall are to basically hit Electro. That helicopter needs to take off immediately and just do reconnaissance on whatever route they're going to take. They don't have... Excuse me, hiccup. They don't have to do a direct flyby. All that helicopter needs to do is just fly, like, right here and just recon the main route. Yeah, Blue 4 can go around side routes, but I'm going to be honest, this is one of the very few objectives where there's only one real route to go into the AO. Yes, there's a crossing point here, but there's no crossing point back to Electro, so you don't want to be south of this town. You've got some hills over here. The only asset that might want to consider crossing is the LAV, so it can go at its maximum range of a click and a half, which would give it sightlines of the entire town from these areas. So the LAV stays across and just provides support where it can, maybe coordinating with the helicopter, flying back here and just staying low. That way when a Igla round comes over, it can immediately duck the round. But yeah, if you just have the helicopter like right here and then duck down, then it should be fine. As long as they're using their Z key. But at the same time, to duck an Igla, all you got to do is literally just dive down, do a spin, and you're fine, because the Igla sucks. Igla, meanwhile, just needs to basically stay in the middle of the town and just constantly watch south and north, because there's not really any other place for that helicopter to go. If the helicopter's smart, they'll stay to the south, though, because the Igla crew is going to have a tough time actually crossing the river to take it out, forcing it to play defense. But the one real advantage Blue 4 has is putting the autocannon back here. Op 4 might even consider putting the autocannon back here too, because it will have good overwatch from here instead of being in the town and risking getting shot by short-range AT. That's fair, Falcon. Every time I've flown and I've shot at it, I've been shot at by an Igla, I just dive and do a spin and then go sideways, and I don't even have to flare half the time, to be honest. Igla is the worst AA weapon I've ever had the unfortunate eyes to utilize, which is why when I bring one, I always try to pack as many rounds as I can, knowing that at least a third of them might hit. No, I just hear, what? And I just flip the damn thing. I was like, oh no, anyway. Nah, the Igla is, I would say, the most effective way to use it is to get just before its minimum range of a few hundred meters and launch the shot, give the pilot no time to react. However, if you time it too early, the pilot has time to react, and if you time it too late, the missile will just fire upwards because you lose the lock because the pilot gets too close. And that's just something you only get with practice. But regardless, let's see. Yeah, 40k things up, but anyway, speed up slightly. Yeah, shitty Soviet missile. Regardless, looking at the map here, we got two objectives to defend to the south and one to the north. Op 4 with only about a platoon-sized strength. I would play to that strength. This objective wouldn't really leave anything there. You could send the BRDM up this route early to stop a convoy from coming in, knowing full well that, you know, they're likely to come up here. What assets does Op 4 have again? They've got two types of BRDMs. So what they could do is they could send one BRDM with just a vehicle crew to come down the MSR and try to ambush whatever comes around here, and they could send another BRDM with a squad up this route and set up an ambush around Pusta, or just, you know, drive it forward and set up any sort of AT ambush to hit anything that comes down on Blue 4. And as soon as that KPTV BRDM reports that there's forces coming down that MSR, that group immediately turns around. I would honestly say, as a commander perspective, put all of your forces around those two objectives, maybe put a small team of forces around there, but focus on this AO, because you have two objectives, and put your autocannon BTR-80 Alpha over here and just have it overwatch. I mean, especially like right here, it can flank all and cover all of that open territory and have a lot of room to basically bob and weave through this tree line. Granted, it's going to make it harder for it to find angles, but it's also going to make it really hard for Blue 4 to find it. And then just set up your static Dushkas in keyholes across this area. You can use the fortification tool, turn this into a nice bunker system as well. There's so many good ways you can play it on defense, but I don't know. And then Blue 4 literally just have to come down the MSR and slog it and coordinate with their heavy fire assets to basically shoot at any fortifications that are here, which Op4 should predict, which is why the BTR-80 Alpha should be to the south, and as soon as that LAV starts firing, that BTR-80 Alpha's one job is to snipe that LAV to basically stop it from being effective. Blue 4, because the limited numbers, should not do a force split. They should just keep everything going. Yes, there's a bunch of open fields to work with, but the only other way to really do this is to attack from the northeast, which means they'd have to send everything around on the northern side, dismount up here, and then just push. How they'd get there, though, is they'd have to go off-road right here, north of Pusta. But even then, no matter how you take Electro, there is going to be open field crossing, which is why you're going to need your support assets to cover you. Helicopter will be able to give you good reconnaissance, and then you need to act on that data in the field. Which is why the longer route might actually be a better idea as well, because it gives your helicopter more time to do recon, but Blue 4 is going to do balls to the wall, which I originally said it's just the best way to do it. Because there just is no good way to hit this AO, but at least if you go quick and fast, you give Op4 little time to deploy their forces. Now, Op4 right off the bat, we've got a defensive line right here fighting uphill. Not really the best idea because the units are going to have to crouch down to see all of that, but that's okay. Alpha over here on Overwatch, and then we got a Charlie 1, one of the BRDMs going out, but it's going... Alright. They're going to be completely committed to a completely ineffective angle. There is absolutely no reason they should be taking that road at all. Actually. That is the dumbest call I have ever seen. Who's commanding? Curie, I'm sorry to say it, buddy, but there's no reason to send them up there. If you want to lock down this area, you should have committed them on this SSR up here. Which, granted, someone's going to argue, well, we already see Blue 4 getting into AO. Yeah, it's because this is a flat freaking road. They'd have to go uphill over here and continue to go uphill. And the BRDM could have set up in Pusta before that happened. But again, with no early reconnaissance with the KPTV, you're going to look at this charge. No security on the MSR. Literally, people would say, well, it's because, you know, no one ever goes the main route. But that's because there's only 2 routes to get into this AO. So these guys are bait, as the rest of this force is going to go down to the south and try to deploy down here. This is a Pierce play, but it's going to work because no one has internal security. You're kidding me. This is why I said consolidate your objectives. Yes, it's good you got the BTR-80 there, but that's why you needed the damn... whatchamacallit, the KPTV BRDM to go down there to stop any rush play. So Pierce is part of Blue 4, I believe. You got a few scattered dismounts, but this is amazing. Blue 4 literally just said F it, Hail Mary, and they're actually pulling it off. Now, granted, Mutant's back here. He's killed 2 Blue 4 because you have some forces that have completely charged in and others that stayed way behind. So now Blue 4 risks being defeated in detail here. But they've got units right on top of multiple objectives. Is Charlie being ordered to pull back yet? It looks like they are. But Blue 4 has a bunch of forces out on the side, which is silly. But no, right off the bat, Blue 4 stands to gain 2 objectives. This could be one of the quickest F&F rounds we've seen in a while. Not the quickest, mind you. Quickest we saw was only a few minutes. Because the objectives were, like, right next to each other. Now you got Mutant crawling around. He hears that medical. He's going to kill Eric. We do have PJ over here with the explosives, so he could take the objective out. And then these 3, I don't know what they're doing. They do have AT. They could take out the final one. Don't know why they're going to that one instead, moving south.
Now you got the 80 Alpha in play here.
Oh, you see that whole... Oh, have you seen that Humvee there? The Humvee along the shoreline, 288, and there's a grouping of infantry.
Oh, no.
Wait,
Oh, no. See, that's why the 80 Alpha is so effective. That's why that spot is so good. I would have fired at the infantry, though, because they were all grouped up. Because now that infantry is going to spook and move in. Those three are going to get that objective. These guys are going to bypass. Bravo's probably going to get back to that second objective in time. Slushy doing some great overwatch here. 1 kill up and 2 down. Because no one's committing into this building. I mean, it's obvious where the caches are. You just go to the black areas. Why is Charlie doing a far dismount up here? Oh my god, this is so bad. This is so freaking bad. All right, PJ is going to breach in there. That cache will be blown up in a few minutes. What did you... Oh my god, tripwire mines just took out the guys in here. Except for one, so Bluck's going to need to get the AT.
I'm good, but fucking guys, I can think of dead.
Destroy the cache. No one's coming down to stop him. This is... And then you got HP Mutant running a one-man war here. 6 kills because Blue Force so broken apart. PJ setting up a charge on the cache, and now Blue 4 needs to commit everything over here, but Blue 4's numbers are getting cut the hell down. And things are pulling back. By the skin of Op4's teeth, they might be able to set up a final defense and still hold it with the BTR on Overwatch. But did that BTR score a few kills? It did not, so I don't know what killed the majority of Alpha. Cache blows up. But it wasn't effective because it was only a single charge, so PJ is going to have to set up another. Olaf running in. I don't know why Blue 4 only committed half of their force to the push. If you're going to do a rush like that, you have to commit your entire force. Because otherwise you're screwed because the first half's going to be defeated in detail. Second half on reserve isn't going to do anything. There's one cache destroyed. Waiting on to see this. I'm surprised Bluck didn't demo that one before the other one hit. He should just be mag dumping it at this point. Because you staying here, people are going to hear the explosions of the mines and know, so if anyone's coming to defend it, they would have been on you by now. You have an LMG right here. Just use that. I don't know what you're waiting on. What are you... Please tell me you set an explosive. Like, what are you waiting on? Destroy the cache. It's not a lone wolf rule if you're the only guy left alive because mines took your force out. It's so silly. Now you got the 50 cal Vic firing because these guys aren't... Shots are going over it. Heard multiple explosions over here. I think that took out a good chunk of Charlie's force that came in. They were in this building, and now I only see 4 of them. And you got Scanny getting behind this force. It's Papega that they're canceling out with, though. There's the mag dumping. Op4, I think, is going to be able to hold this. Because Blue 4 didn't commit their entire force to the rush, and Op4 was able to reposition on the final cache with their numbers. And that's what they needed to do in the first place, was just hold this area. So it works itself out, but it's really silly how this played out. And because Blue 4 didn't commit their entire force, they've got straggler forces out here that are getting caught by the Op4 forces out here. It's a dumb plan on both sides. And that's why Op4 is going to win this. Because Blue 4 really dropped the damn ball here. And neglected to commit. Oh no. Hurton's got the mag in. But Guy Fieri still gets the headshot with the handgun. Ooh, Artisan's going to commit. Catch Cullis. He doesn't see him. How did you not see Cullis?
I just killed 2 on the...
Artisan, my boy! Artisan, my boy! Now you got Korvac up here firing down at him. where's the LAV? Oh my god, the LAV is finally up here. And it's getting into a firefight. What's the helicopter doing? So the 80 Alpha disabled the LAV. They knew the 80 Alpha was over there because they took fire from it earlier, but I guess it wasn't properly called up. Op4 have a strong defense line here. Blue 4 only have a handful of forces. There's the AA launch. Still gets the tail hit because the pilot didn't turn in time. Tail rotor's out. Waiting for that reload. That was Slushy's shot, so should immediately have a second shot loaded in there, ready to go. Locking on. At that angle, it's probably going to hit the drum. Angle lost, but that's going to be out of commission. And Blue 4 are down to... I want to say Op4 is a 2-to-1 number advantage on them at this point. I mean, just look at the skull counts. Yeah. No surprise. If Blue 4 fully committed to that rush, they would have won. But they didn't. And that was probably because some of the squad commanders disagreed with Blue 4's strategy and said, no, we're not going to rush in because that's stupid. And that cost them the game. That, honest to God, cost them the game. Because ever since Pierce did that rush the other time and it went horribly because he completely miscalculated, everyone has a taboo against rushes. But this AO was perfect for a rush. Because even all they needed to do to stop the second AA missile going in, that's a hit. She's going to go down. Yep. Right into the trees. Target destroyed. Helicopter reduced speed and then started going into a death spin. Banks right here just chilling, I guess. Op Force commander lagged out. Blue Force commander died. Yeah, so it's just up to local forces here, but Igla did its job. BTR-80 Alpha doing a great job. I mean, the LAV, how they could have countered the BRDM pushing down the MSR is just have the LAV on point and then shoot the shit out of it with the main gun. But at least that would have given Op4 the intel that that force was coming down, hearing, oh shit, they're coming, and then nothing else. Banks getting machine gunned. And going underwater. So I'd be really curious if Blue... I want to ask maybe Guy Fieri, the people in Papega, and just say, hey, like, what happened? Because I have a feeling some people did a farther dismount because they didn't want to do the charge-in. Because from a tactical standpoint, again, it makes no sense to charge in half of your force and then put another half of your force on Overwatch positions, but do it all at the same time so Overwatch isn't ready to cover the charge. If you're going to do a charge, you charge. And the charge is super effective if your enemy is going to overcommit on their defensive lines and just, you know, send forces out willy-nilly when they should be focusing on the tight internal defensive line. You know what I mean? Oh, Eric, you're the same Eric in there. I didn't notice you, buddy. My apologies. So yeah, no, I'm curious then. Pierce is gonna grenade him. Oh, look at this. Look at this. Classic freaking Pierce. We give him a lot of shit, but this man knows how to kill people with grenades. I would say out of everyone I see on FNF, Pierce is the only person that knows how to properly use grenades. Especially now that grenades aren't nerfed anymore, which granted it's been like that for a while, but you can use that, and if you know how to time your grenade, you can kill anyone with it. So Eric, can you type out what the plan was? Just out of curiosity. Because I'd love to hear your perspective, because my job isn't to berate anyone that makes the wrong call. My job is to say, all right, here's what happened, here's why it went wrong, here's how we can fix it for next time. Because don't get me wrong, I would have loved to see this rush work, and it would have worked too, and you would have been able to get this mission done in 5 minutes. It would have been amazing. But hey, next time. Always a next time, right? I would be up for seeing Pierce come back to command. Because here's the thing. He was getting better. And I know, objectively, how could I say something like that? But I'm going to be honest, guys. Watching him week after week commanding, he was getting better. He just completely miscalculated a plan, and it cost him, and a bunch of people complained. But at the same time, how else are commanders supposed to learn if you don't let them continue to learn? You know what I mean? It's stupid. But hey, this ain't my community. I'm just commentating here. You know, I'm just... Great drop by Nas there, but... Thought Op4 would split Scandi to north. I wanted to push, but put a foot on the door, then improvised. I wanted Pepega in an Overwatch, and the steep hill was taking a lot of time. So you were correct, Arakiru. Scandi did go north. They went in with Charlie, because Scandi's Charlie, right? Yeah, they were in a BRDM. They took that road right there, and they picked a really obscure route to go out. So you had that right. You had that right. That's the crazy thing. But you just didn't commit. And you improvised last second. But I get it. You had the tactical knowledge. You had the proper guess. Yeah, and Kiri's the other commander here. So, by all means, trade strategies here, because I'm going to be honest, both of you made the wrong calls in the attack and defense of this, and now it's up to the squad leaders to fight it through. Op4 is going to get the W here, because Blue 4 have just lost everything because they committed half their force to a push. Other half went on Overwatch, but it wasn't in time because all of it was done at the same time. That defeated in detail Blue 4, and Op4 are just going to be able to hold because they were able to pull back to the final objective after they realized they lost 2 objectives within 5 minutes. So again... could have been really cool, but now it just kind of devolved. But take this and get better. Now, let me also clarify with this. Let me watch these two guys get dropped by Gamma or survive. One of the two. A rush play only works when you only have, I want to say, 3 or less avenues of approach. And those avenues of approach are literally the road and this northern road right here. You can't really go through the forested area here because when you get there, it's all open death zone here, which even then you'd have to do from the side road anyway. A rush only works if you can get into the AO within a few minutes. Furthermore, a rush only works when the objectives are super stagnated, forcing a novice defender to pretty much divide his forces, which is what Kiri did. He sent one of his entire squads of his best troops up north, and only now they're looping back and helping, you know, with the final defense here. So a rush, again, only works if you have a limited amount of avenues to push into the AO. And then the objectives that you're fighting are super stagnated because I never see a commander properly consolidate forces anymore to hold objectives and leave one out to dry. They almost always put a vanguard force on it, and that just lowers their number advantage. But what almost always makes the attacker lose in objectives like these is they get defeated in detail. They only commit a third or half of their force when they should be committing their entire force because the other forces are just kept in reserve or they're put in positions where they are not able to do any proper Overwatch. And it costs them every single time. Literally over the past three or 4 weeks, it's been like that. The only exception has been when the objectives are so stagnated, which is what happened last week, round 1, I believe, where there was one objective to hit. The attackers did a really great job, but the defenders just did the proper, held where they could, and then pulled forces back. And then the attacker made the mistake of going to the third objective instead of the second objective in order, and divided their forces, and that kind of screwed them. But so many little mistakes to be made, but we're seeing Blue 4 getting cut down. Blue 4, I think, is down to 6 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there's a 6th up there. But, yeah, 80 Alpha is now in play to cover Overwatch. But I will say, Eric, the smartest... Or, no, it was Kiri. Here. Kiri, the smartest decision you made was putting the BTR 80 Alpha on Overwatch on the back line. So many areas for it to stay in tree cover, but it gives it perfect Overwatch of the southern AOs, which you should have been focusing on in the first place because you only had about 40 people to work with. That was your smartest play. because that stopped anyone from coming up the coast, and when they tried, BTR-80 Alpha shot at them. When the Humvees tried to come around, BTR-80 Alpha shot at them. When people tried swimming around, BTR-80 Alpha shot at them. That was your smartest call. Don't get me wrong, you made a few dumb calls too with sending... If you wanted to send Scandi Recon on the side route like that, you should have used the other route up here. Because that entire vehicle convoy would have been slowed down when they went uphill right here. So Scandi would have had time to set up in this town and listen for anything coming along. They could have sent, you know, a small team up north also to listen, and then send another force over there to listen. Or had the BRDM act as its own element and look. So that one I get why you did it though, but that's also the mindset of just sending forces on very obscure routes on the side. But tactically, when you look at the contour lines and the terrain on elevation points, it's not needed. Miscalculated distance. It's fine. But again, that only comes with experience. So I implore you, keep commanding if you can, because you are getting better. Eric, you had a brilliant plan. You just didn't commit. Do it again. You'll get better. I mean, I've been watching Slushy over the past, I want to say, 4 or 5 weeks. She's been getting great at commanding. The only thing that screwed her last week was just that really, in my opinion, unfair AO. And then she made a tactical error of going ahead on a rush objective. You always want to do the rush objectives in order, otherwise you're just dividing your force, and you're going to screw yourself. But yeah, as Don says, practice makes perfect. But compared to other things I've seen you two do, you're definitely getting better. Because this could have been literally a 10-minute round. It would have been a great lesson in the fact that a rush play can still work. But this should also be a good lesson to Kiri of sometimes you just have to consolidate around 2 objectives, which would have been these 2. You could have had a squad watching that angle, a squad watching that angle, a squad watching this angle, and then something in reserve, Igla in the middle. You could have had an internal defense line in this building, which granted, a squad actually came in here and killed everything around here by getting in this building. Slushy got 3 kills just by going on a window and shooting people. There goes Depso getting another kill of a single straggler coming in. And then, you know, 80 Alpha in the back. And as soon as that LAV starts firing at a fortified position, 80 Alpha engages. That helicopter was useless because it can just get eagled, and that's exactly what happened. So that would have made... It wouldn't have denied the rush play, because the rush play... Great AT shot by Whiplash there. That would have at least gotten your foot in the door, but it would have been a slog. And now you're just watching any remaining infantry come in and get massacred. So, Kiri, I'm going to give you a quick lesson, and this goes forward for all commanders. Whatever works on Pierce does not work on anyone else. Pierce is a wild card, all right? You cannot take what you learn from commanding against Pierce and apply it to other commanders like Vagrant. Alright? Pierce is a very special commander, which is why I loved him commanding. I know people hated his command, but the man would come up with the craziest of strategies, and it would work. People literally had to make a special mindset for fighting Pierce.
Oh shit, you're alive.
No, I'm not.
No, I'm not.
Get out and split them down. Listen. It's your last chance. Hey, man. Get out! Leave me be. Good. Get out and put your hands up. 3 seconds. Leave me alone. I will call that fucking dead dude. Tell you. Get out. Good. Get out. They're distracted. Get it.
You're gonna Igla him?
And dude, get some.
The Igla's not gonna work. Oh, he finally died. That's it. That's GG. Blue 4 eliminated. He either bled out or the 50 cal just ran into him. Igla does not need a lock to fire. No, you can dummy fire that. And you can fire it at ground targets, but it does very minimal damage. It's like firing a